some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah, hope I get away with it. Oh, the doo-dah day.
Hi there, folks, and welcome to Last Man Standing. The thunderstorm we have been awaiting for about 5 hours finally drifted this way. There's torrential rain coming down outside. If there's too much thunder and lightning, I might lose power, but the moment has been prepared for. With me tonight, we have Richie, and if I suddenly disappear, he doesn't have ops to end the show, but he'll go, bye y'all, and skedaddle off stage left.
Look, a distraction.
Yeah, the designated distraction is what you are. Yeah. Let me.
Oh wait, no. Sorry, wrong kind of distraction.
Daniel Berry, thank you for being here. Thank you for wishing us a happy Thursday night. It is actually a happy Thursday night because a lot of the stuff that my wife and I have been waiting on about the mold treatment, the termite treatment, and rebuilding the floor has gotten done over the last 2 days. They're going to come back and put the new vapor barrier down under the house, and then call the guys that are supposed to basically rip my floor out and put a new floor in, and go, hey, it's y'all's now. Let's go. And Lindsay and I will have not only floors we can walk on without falling through, we will have hot water. Hot water is one of the things that a lot of people take for granted until you realize that only the folks that grew up learning from the folks that went through the Great Depression know, boil a kettle full of water, put it in a wash pan, take it into the back room, and take a bath that way, which is totally unsatisfying when you really want a long shower. We'll be able to do that again soon. Um, Probably by the time we get back from LibertyCon, everything will be done and ready for us to hook up the water heater we've already got in the house. The brand new one that hasn't been hooked up because really useless to hook it up and run water in it when you got to pull it up and trundle it off into a reinforced portion of the floor while the floor under the old water heater is replaced by stuff that will not actually wind up sitting in the bottom of the crawl space 3 feet below. So, there is that. Anyway, we're looking forward to having the house back to normal and better than normal. Lindsay's already planning on, new countertops, new this, new that. And I'm going, good thing I saved so carefully during my working life. She doesn't know how much money I've got, and I'm not going to tell her. She'll spend it. But let's just say I won't ever be invited to a Rockefeller or Rothschild's dinner outing, but by the time we're through with this, I could still buy me a boat. Thank you, Chris, whatever your name is, for the song. I really don't remember your last name, but yeah, that's the only song of yours I actually like. But that's not uncommon. There are several other musical artists who only have like 2 or 3 songs I really like. David Allan Coe comes to mind. I think he's got 2 that I can tolerate. The rest of them are kind of racist, and I'm not standing for that. But hello, Thesis. Glad to have you with us. If you want to pop in, I think you're on the link share to Messenger. If not, I can pop into the private chat and give you the link to. Well, I hope I could give you the link to come in here. I don't know. I've been doing this so long, I forgot how it works. I click, it goes. It's like having your password saved. No further input needed. I've got a lot of stuff that I have moved from other rooms in the house to the kitchen to be taken out on the hand truck or on the wheelbarrow to be put in their correct places, either in the barn or on the trailer full of. This is going to sound like a stereotype, but the trailer full of trash that is not trailer park trash. It's just stuff that we cannot legally just tote into the woods and dump. So we have to take it to the county landfill.
Non-compostable stuff.
Yeah, non-compostable stuff, plastic.
Well, non-compostable and non-combustible. Well, you shouldn't combust it at least.
It's plastic. It's combustible, but I don't want to be there when it gets combusted. That would be very difficult to
so many
breathe.
plastic fumes over the years working at the plastics factory that I might be immune.
I would believe you have a limited immunity. There's still new plastics you have not inhaled yet. That might be even more incompatible with one's personal health.
Polyvinyl chloride and silicon, which is an acetyl. Acetyls, when they sit for too long, give off formaldehyde. So people would not pay attention to those machines when things were running too fast. So if something kind of clogged up on the machine, they would just be like, okay, fine. And then it's still sitting going, and that stuff is just building up in the barrel. And the ceiling was 50 feet in the air.
When those vapors got low enough for people to notice, I bet it was fierce.
Well, no. So the Jayco machine is a small machine that is basically a vertical machine instead of a horizontal machine. A lot of other, injection molding machines, the barrel is sitting like this, so it's squeezing the plastic that way. In a Jayco, there's a screw that is at the top that it goes up, and as it's going up, it's letting the plastic fall into the grooves of the screw, and the screw is heated so that everything is melting so that it can be pushed through into the mold that is below. But if they did not make sure that that machine was properly cared for, the gases could build up in the barrel of that press so that that screw could go and hit the ceiling. And that screw is something that is heavy enough that two grown men have to put it in if they have to replace the screw. One man can't do it by themselves. They either have to use a fork truck, or two men can actually just up and do it. But there enough pressure would build up because of that gas that could actually send about 250, 300 pound piece of metal to hit the ceiling 50 feet up.
That does not sound like a fun time.
So, and this is also back when I was still a smoker. So I was the only one with the lung capacity. My lung capacity was better than that of the non-smokers. To go in and take care of the machine so that things could be de-escalated before bad things kind of happen. So you take a deep breath while you are outside of the area of gas, and then you run in, you do everything that you need to, and then you come back out, you exhale, you get fresh air, and then you run back in, kind of a deal. Because if you try to breathe that stuff in, your lungs are going to hurt like hell, and you are going to go unconscious. So I was the one that got stuck clearing the barrels on those machines, because I was the only one for lung capacity to sit there and work it long enough.
You were the only one that could hold your breath long enough to get the work done.
Exactly. And I growing up on the lake.
My wife finally heard the story from my first job, not the one at the fiberglass factory, but my first job while I was working my way through college, of why one day I became an emergency ambulance. And why the back seat of my Chevy Impala had red paint flakes all over the back seat that I could not remove. I was working in a place that built rebuilt pallets, like you'd put stuff on and move around with a forklift, as well as rebuilt and constructed new soft drink cases. There was a paint booth in there to paint the wooden soft drink cases with whatever type of paint the
Proper company logos.
yeah, whether it was Pepsi or Coca-Cola. That day it happened to be a Coca-Cola thing, so red was the theme of the day. And the guys running the paint booth, let's just say they weren't the sharpest knives in the drawer. There was a wash tub. Not a 55-gallon drum, not a 35-gallon drum, but a 20, 30-gallon wash tub full of mineral spirits in the floor for them to rinse the paint sprayers and all their individual parts in, disassemble it, clean it, make it safe to reassemble and use again. And it was the 70s. One of them was a total idiot. You can already tell where the story's going. 30-gallon drum of mineral spirits and just about kerosene strength, and teenagers in the 70s. I'm sure you know where this is going.
The theme was red and green for the day, and it wasn't Christmas.
Well,
they made it thought it was, but
they were taking a break from spray painting all kinds of Coca-Cola crates red, which I and my elder partner in the other end of the building were going to put the logos on with white paint. You see how this works. And we're sitting there going through our job of either making wood parts using all kinds of woodworking tools, or actually running through stuff through the painter, and we hear the loudest thunder we have ever heard in our lives. So both of us, I mean, he's almost 70. I'm just barely 18. We run outside and go, that's not good. I've never seen smoke come out of that part of the factory before. Run inside. One of the morons has tossed a lit cigarette into the wash tub of mineral spirits. And it decided, hey, this is a day I'm going to show you why you shouldn't do that. It went boom. So, whole drum of lightly explosive fluid exploded with bits of metal flying everywhere and paint cans also flying everywhere because they didn't believe in cleaning up. I mean, that the boss would hire somebody for that. They didn't have to empty paint cans. Anyway, two of them were injured. One of them very, very minorly, just you know, blinking and going, "I got knocked on my butt." Yeah. Other one had paint in his eyes. And the boss comes out and goes, I've called 911. I've called 911. I'm going, we're 30 miles from the hospital. Are they going to get here in time? He goes, probably not. I go, okay, dudes, get in the back of my car. I haul ass in a Chevy Impala with a 350 with a turbo hydromatic transmission, and the top of the air cleaner flipped upside down, and I put the pedal to the floor, and that thing roared like God's only Batmobile. Yes, I don't care what the speed limits are. I don't care what the red lights say. We're getting to the emergency room right now. About 30 seconds later, I was there. Um, I never got the paint out of the back seat, but the guys were at. But the one guy that had the paint splashed in his eyes, if I hadn't done that, if we'd waited on the ambulance, he would have been blind for life. So I made the right call. I got him there. He got his eyes flushed. He got everything cleaned out. The other guy was just shock, basically. It was just kaboom, and he went, "Oh my God, Mama didn't prepare me for this." But this is one of the examples of why I was trained by my parents to do the right thing at the right time, even if it's totally over the top and might get me arrested later. But yeah, uh, got the dudes to the hospital, saved the guy's eyesight. Was never able to get the red paint out of the back seat of my blue car, but I was only 18. It's not like any woman had ever seen the back seat of my car. I had to go to college for that, but that was still quite a while in my future. No, when shit hits the fan, and not trying to brag, but I've saved one guy from accidentally hanging himself. I've saved one guy from being blinded by paint. I've saved was at a party and one dude got mad at his girlfriend and punched a hole through my girlfriend's wall, which I fixed, but I managed to talk Zen to him off the top of my head because I didn't know anything about it at the time, but he was willing to listen and talked him down so he didn't beat up his girlfriend or anything. And the party broke up and I was sufficiently rewarded by my girlfriend later on, but I had to call my mom and say, "Mama, there was an emergency at the party. I can't come home right now because it's entirely too late for me to be driving into the next county, and I have had a drink to calm myself down. I'm not going to drive after I've been drinking." Mama goes, "All right, but we're going to have a long talk when you get home." Mostly that was about condoms, and I'm going, "No, that
I was
wasn't
going to
what
say,
happened. That wasn't what the emergency was. No, um, it was calming down some guy that punched a hole in a solid wall, and then I had to go buy a patch kit for a piece of um sheetrock. Actually, I used the original chunk of sheetrock, which had not fallen entirely to the floor. I just kind of got a hold of it, wiggled it out, put sealer around the edges, and put a couple of little bitty screws into it and pulled it up and made it seal. And then she painted the wall so that landlord didn't know that the lease had been violated unless he was actually at the party, and I don't think he was. Well, let's just say she was appreciative, and that was a first in my life. But didn't lose my virginity that night. Well, not that particular one, but maybe another one. Um, but these things balance out. Um, what else have I done? Um, there have been times when I left a party in the middle of nowhere because I saw somebody driving out of the driveway to make a beer run, and some moron climbed out of the passenger window, roof surfed on the car for about 5 minutes, then climbed into the back seat of their car, well, same car, through the driver's side rear window, and I'm going, uh, Mama told me not to come. This is the wrong kind of party for me. Um, so I went off in a panic. Um, what was it? Oh, the guy I saved from hanging himself. He was being a clown. He was being an absolute moron. tied a hangman's noose in some random window cord he'd found, threw it over a tree branch, tied a loop in the other end, put his foot in it, put the hangman's noose around his head, and proceeded to try and stand up, and slipped and fell off of his only foot that was still on the ground. 15 or 20 people standing around were in shock, did not move. I imitated every Flash that ever lived, ran up to him, picked him up off of the ground barehanded with my hands in his armpits until somebody else could get the rope off his neck and off of his foot. Whereupon I set him down and I go, if you ever do that again, I'm going to let you get away with it. But nobody heard me say that because that would have been a very cruel thing. But no, evidently his future wife goes to church with my wife, and I'm going, I wonder if he remembers that day. I'm going, you almost died. You better fucking remember it. This is one of the few times I was able to be a superhero. This is my life. Stuff happens. I react. What am I supposed to do? Let fate take its course? Don't think so. No. Not if I got breath and strength to do anything about it. I've been walking through the woods next to a creek, stepped on a poisonous snake. It said, no thank you, and jumped in the creek rather than biting me. I've fallen out of trees. Gravity has said, I don't want you. No, you stay up there. And walked away with bruises. I don't know what it is, but I'm old now and I'm not pushing any chances whatsoever. Ooh, that one was close, he says. I mean, I could have hollered Frau Blucher at the right point, and that would have been loud. I've actually parked in downtown Atlanta and gone to a movie theater and come back to the parking lot and found my car was still there. That impresses me more than anything. Of course, it was a piece of shit car to start with, but the fact that it was still there, of course, I drove over a one of those buggers you park up against the concrete little doohickeys at the end of a parking space. I accidentally pulled. Yeah, I accidentally pulled forward over one instead of backing up away from it, and the Impella said, "Speed bump." My ass went right over it. I'm going, Damn, I'm amazed I didn't tear the transmission out on that one. That was definitely a misadventure right there. And,
In my 75 Impala, my best friend and I, when we were kids, like most kids who grow up in a fairly rural area, we like to jump tracks. I was not aware that there was a dip right before the set of tracks.
oh
So I didn't
dear.
end up jumping the tracks. I ended up jumping the dip. So I came up. So I caught air off of the dip and came down on the tracks. Ripped my oil pan off.
Hmm. I can see the physics of that. Yes. I used to live where I had to cross a very steep uh, railroad intersection to be able to get to my apartment, and it was just a duplex. It was not, some huge thing, but there was a time or two when I was coming back from the nightclub because this was college years, and I actually caught some air going across those railroad tracks. And I was kind of worried that the suspension on the Impala was not going to take it, but you know, Dukes of Hazzard didn't have nothing on that car. Believe me, uh, the the General Lee was less durable than my Blackbird. Um Wait a minute, no, that was the blue car. The Blackbird was the not the Caprice. It was the black on black on black. Um, wasn't a Camaro. What was it? It was a Oldsmobile Cutlass Super Sport. That was an incredible car. Um, in order to keep from losing it, I actually rebuilt the motor on it myself and drove it for another 10 years or so. But and I had no skills other than changing a flat tire, changing an oil filter, swapping out radiators and water pumps and stuff like that. Just elementary stuff. I had no way of knowing. Once you tore the top of a motor off, you had some work cut out for you.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit. I hope my wife's asleep. She'll be scared to death. I mean, this is definitely a throw open the first switch sort of Frankenstein movie out there with its thunder and lightning going on. Um, I'm glad they got through with the termite treatment today, and all they got to do is come back and crawl under the house and put the vapor barrier back. Uh, they're going to come back later on in the fall and replace all the insulation and tear out to do the mold abatement because of the water leaks under the house. Um, this is biblical. This is absolutely epic. I mean, I wish the microphone were good enough for y'all to hear it, but um, this is Cecil B. DeMille level thunder and lightning going on out there. Eh, It's not even supposed to be that long lasting. Uh, well, it wasn't, but evidently Alabama had other ideas and sent us some of their weather too.
If your thunder
Thank
and
you,
lightning lasts more than
Josh.
4 hours, you might need to consult a meteorologist.
No, I'll just look at the gauges and I actually have three meteorologists right here, plus another couple online, and Josh going. You know, Dan, you should have been aware yesterday that some stuff was headed your way, and I'm going. Thanks for the warning, Josh. 72 hours late. Um,
Yeah, it's some stuff might come through around here as well. And we always watch out for the thunderstorms because of Misty's epilepsy.
yeah. Um, Lindsay has both agoraphobia and bipolar, and I have to watch out. She does not want to go out into the world, and she does not want. I think you've probably run into this with at least with Crow, if not with other folks in your children's set. Um, Not unexpected surprises, shocks, and whatnot are not welcome.
Yeah,
I keep imagining what uh, Nick's boy Xander would go through in this kind of situation where when it sounded like this, it'd be no. And God only knows what their coping mechanism is for that. Um, for me, it'd be if I was suffering for anything like that, it'd be, Mama, come here, let me hug your knees. Um, I don't know how
I
Lindsay gets
believe
through
that
with it.
that is part of it. And I believe the other part of it is I think they have something so that um, like a to keep them distracted. Kind of the deal. So like a tablet or something like that. And I would think that a good tablet and a good set of headphones, if it is a noise issue, would probably do a lot for the stimulus issue.
Hmm. I think you're exactly right, and that is a very wise thing to have said. A very good observation to have made, and I hope it helps people in whoever it is that watches this, besides Carl, because he doesn't need any help. He's already well adjusted, but still, there are other people that will pick up on this stuff later. And speaking of which, thank you for being here and not allowing me to go hi, bye in the show. I hate doing that, but if I'm going to sit here by myself, there's only so much monologuing I can do before I go, uh, sorry, I'm boring. Here's some interesting stuff. Go watch that. And hitting the end credits.
Well, yeah, not like I've got to, wake up early for anything tomorrow.
I'm retired. I understand that. Although I did wake up at 4:30 a.m. today for no reason whatsoever. It wasn't even an alarm. I just woke up and I go, there's no way I'm going back to bed. I'm too awake. Walk out, make a cup of coffee, drink my cup of coffee, check my email and everything else.
1 second.
Actually, take all the seconds you need, my friend. I'm not impatient.
Alrighty then.
Anything I have a right to know, or just normal household stuff?
Normal household stuff that could have waited.
It'll be all right. And believe me, take all the time you need. You are doing me a big favor just by being here. And I do appreciate it. Not only are you one of my favorite people, but you're someone my audience thinks is interesting. And they've shown that by reading your stories in Aphelion. So, crack the whip. Actually, I want to see you on another show where you are demonstrating your love of werewolf lore and just being somebody who has knowledge and can relate this stuff. And ow, that hurt.
You okay?
I took a potassium today. I should not be having those hand cramps, but I am. It'll be all right. I'll live. It just went, oh, here's an icy hot needle through your thumb. Thank you very much, Fate.
I've had those days. For me, it was legs, but I can relate.
Well, I'd much rather it be my thumb than my knees. Either one of them. There are times when I stand up from out of the chair and I go, if I had not been holding on to the table next to me, I would have fallen down and Lindsay would have called an ambulance. Not because I was too drunk to stand up, but because I'm too heavy for her to lift. She's a little bitty woman.
So, did you hear what time I went to bed on Tuesday after waking up at 6 a.m. on Tuesday?
No, I did not. Or if I did, I don't remember.
9 a.m. on Wednesday. I couldn't sleep.
Well, I'm sure there were coping mechanisms involved during Tuesday night.
Well, it's I was in pain because of my neuropathy, and then I was having issues because of losing the job and all that, and it was my last day, so I my ADHD just went nuts, and I fell down so many rabbit holes of what's this do? What's this do? It was 9 a.m. before my body is finally like, dude, no, we're done. So, and then I only slept for like an hour and a half.
Well,
and then it was like 3 a.m. before I went to bed. So,
for me last night, I went to bed before midnight. And I'm going, this is definitely going to be a mistake because I'm going to wake up at 7 and I will be through with 2 cups of coffee by 9. And I'll be going, do I have enough beer to last the rest of the day? Because basically, my 2 beverages are coffee, then beer, and work follows along with the beer. Boy, if they had a vending machine that would distribute beer at work, I'd probably still be there, and they'd be broke. But no, no, I woke up at 4:30 this morning. And I'm going, what fresh hell is this? I haven't seen this time of day in decades. And I got up. I made 2 cups of coffee last me until almost 10 o'clock. And I looked at my wife and I go, I actually need sleep now. I've just had 2 cups of really strong coffee. But I'll talk to you this afternoon. Woke up again at about 11. And I was good to go the rest of the day. I got a lot of stuff done. I got stuff moved from not only my office, but the guest bedroom that we're trying to clean out to be able to turn it back into a guest bedroom rather than a lumber room full of all kinds of scrap stuff. And ready to go out to the barn for temporary storage. Or, in some cases, permanent storage. Just to get it out of the house. And Lindsay's going, I'd really like to have that be a guest bedroom like we planned on it being. And I'm going, yeah, I'd really like to build that fold-up Murphy bed like I had intended. And she goes, yeah, I've heard that for 30 years now. It ain't never going to happen. I'm going, we never thought we'd be cleaning out all this stuff and putting it someplace else either. So maybe wait and see. If it happens, it happens. I don't need the blueprints. I already know how to do what I want to do. It wouldn't. It wouldn't even be that hard. It would be just slightly more advanced cabinet making for me, which is something my dad trained me in from a very early age. When I have time and I have money for materials, I can turn out stuff that actually looks like it was professionally made to be a one off, never to be repeated bit of furniture styled in classic English furniture patterns. I'm really very fond of the style named after an interior designer named Adam. I think that was his last name. Who did trim work that was in contrasting colors involving blue and green and very dark green inside the trim on the different furniture that he was building, or the enamel work around the trim on the walls and whatnot. And I'm going, yeah, that speaks to me. I want, yeah, that's what I want to do. So I built a dining table and bench seats, and the trim work on that is exactly dark green, light green, contrasting blue, just for contrast, and then wood stain, very light, like pecan, and then the wooden benches and table themselves are mahogany colored stain. So I've got this dark woo blue, light green, dark green, and pecan. And I'm going, you know, this looks like something he would have done. It's been a long time since art school where I studied interior design and furniture and everything else that I had to study in school. Might not be able to identify that much stuff anymore from just seeing a photograph like I used to have to do for tests. But yeah, um, although same course taught me a real appreciation for um, middle and late Egyptian work in the sandstone and I forget what the harder stone was that they used. There's one that was almost black, and there's one that was definitely red, and it just depended on the which kingdom was it, which historical period it was, what they were using, because styles change over the years. It's like nobody does avocado refrigerators anymore, right? Uh, that
Right.
was that was strictly 70s. Well, let me rephrase that. Nobody sane does avocado refrigerators and washers and dryers and other kitchen appliances and laundry room appliances in that particular ugly color of green. I mean,
And that's
even in the 70s, we were making fun of it, and it was new.
unless someone's trying to be avant-garde and do something, you know, real bad.
Oh, nowadays, if they were doing avant-garde, instead of doing avocado, they'd be doing lemon or salmon.
Sunflower.
Yeah, sunflower. Um, it'd either be pink or just barely
Right.
pink from red or yellow. And being a child of the 60s, I've seen some amazing stuff that was done in different tones of light and dark green as far as tile and grouting goes. One of the first houses we had in Tennessee, my parents had a bathroom that was just absolutely looked like the best design for a bathroom and shower that I've ever seen in my life. And I'm looking at it, and as I matured into my 20s, I go, oh, now I understand what the 1960s shower unit with a waist high shelf in the shower was actually for. And I'm going, ooh, no wonder I got a little sister. Mom and Daddy got busy in the shower one night because it was just the perfect height. It's amazing what you can learn. And then you go back and look at historical stuff and you go, well, it might be white enameled wood, but I'm sure there was more wood involved on that one. It's French. I'm not going to judge. You'd be amazed at how much stuff not only the French but the Italians gifted us with. And some of the Italian designs go back to before the fall of Rome. There's all kinds of stuff in there. Not only tile, but floor tile, wall tile, ceiling tile, as well as the what do you call that stuff? You make pictures out of little bitty pieces of ceramic. Yeah, that's it. Say it again.
Mosaic.
Mosaic, yes. Once you have small enough pieces, you can do anything with that. It's kind of like putting a jigsaw together, but you have to make the pieces.
The pieces.
And it can be absolutely beautiful. Some of it I've seen, especially not only Roman but Greek and Minoan, that is just gloriously, breathtakingly beautiful. Not only from the point of view of, my God, this is little pieces of tile somebody glued together, but having the foresight to plan what the patterns are and save up those little bitty pieces. Some of them might have been something that was made from scraps of stuff that burst when it was fired in an oven, just shattered, and like plastic does sometimes. Um, but to have the foresight to go, oh, wait a minute, I need that color and that shape right here. I need that color and almost that shape. Let me take a hammer and chisel and get that corner off so it fits the way I want it to. Some of this stuff is just absolute genius. And you look at it and you go, how'd they ever think of that? And I look at it and I'm going, oh, wow. Somebody worked their ass off to put that together.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, looking at when people do that stuff is just awe-inspiring, and part of me hates people for it, but it's pure jealousy, because it's beautifully done. It's light years beyond what you can imagine, and it's just how do you make it so that you can see the world that way? Um, same
Well,
with for me. Same with stained glass.
well, and I was about to say, in about 9 or 10 days, we're going to be able to see one of our friends who's a stained glass artist, and she does exactly that. She cuts her hands up quite a lot, but she assembles some of the most astounding modern stained glass that would rival what gets done in medieval cathedrals in stained glass windows, but she's doing it as artwork that can be displayed in modern homes. And I'm just going, honey, you do this with glass the way I do stuff with bits and pieces of musical instruments in my composing program. You're putting the pieces together, but you've got a vision, and you're not restricted by, oh, this is 4 bars, this is 8 bars. No, you can go, well, yep, that's a 1/4 inch too long on this end. Let me have my chisel go tap and make it fit. You know, clip off fragment. And yeah, like I said, she always shows up with band-aids all over her hands where she's cut herself to bits making this glass artwork. But There's never been a competition she didn't enter that she did not win, place, or show. She's that damn good. She's going to be in the top 3 no matter what. And usually it's right at the top. She's incredible. And the only reason I'm not saying her name is because, well, she works to her own designs. She's not out trying to get commissions to do everything. She's not in it for the money. It's her art. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. If you want to buy it, she'll sell it. And it ain't going to be cheap, but it'll damn well be worth it. It'll last forever. But she doesn't want to be world famous. She just wants the convention circle to know who she is and what she does. You could probably look her up and find out her name. Just knowing the Chattanooga convention that we're going to is called LibertyCon. That's probably all the clues any reasonably intelligent person needs. But, yeah, she doesn't want to be a big name. She just wants to be appreciated for her art. And I'm going, yes, honey. Just don't shake my hands. I don't want to be picking glass splinters out of my fingers for next week. I imagine that she could double as a classic Flash villain that is basically throws broken glass everywhere and has it sparkle in Barry's eyes so he can't see where he's supposed to be running to. By the way, how was your Barry Allen?
Very well. He pissed Misty off tonight because apparently right after she fed him, of course, he decided to eat too much and, scarf and barf.
I was just about to say that. We've got one exactly like that. He'll eat every bite of food in the house and then find the cleanest bit of carpet to get sick on. So did he wonder I'm going to have to go back with laminate floors on everything?
So Misty had just come back into the dining room to fill up her cup with ice to make herself some iced tea. And, she saw what Barry had done. And I just dished up her dinner and stuff like that. And we're like, son of a, we're like, all right, we'll deal with it in a minute. And then Bella took care of it for us, so we didn't have to worry about it.
Somehow that doesn't sound as reassuring as your offhand manner made it seem.
Well, Misty was like, Bella, you nasty dog. And Crow and I are like, none of us have to clean it up now. And Misty suddenly is like, good point. Good puppy. You're not licking me.
Not for at least 3 days. No. Um, you know, the more I find out about Crow, the more I have briefly interacted with Crow, the more I am impressed with how intelligent they really are. You did good there, boy. You did real good.
I lucked out. It's in so many things. I see similar things in Crow that were in me, so I'm like, all right, I know how to navigate this. And Misty's like, I'm so worried because blah blah blah. I'm like, that's not an issue. We do this. Are you sure?
Believe me, this is how this works. I lived this life before. Um,
You're worried that someone that's interested in that kind of stuff is going to end up as a serial killer or something like that. But you married someone who is interested in that kind of stuff and was watching and reading that kind of stuff when I was Crow's age. Do we see the disconnect, honey?
yeah, really. It's like my mom not understanding that Lindsay and I met each other in a serial killer chat room. Um, I shouldn't keep using that phrase. It's more like an unsolved mysteries chat room. But it was dedicated to Jack the Ripper as a mystery. Wasn't a fandom of Jack the Ripper. It was a fandom of, hey, um, been almost 150 years. Can this ever be solved? And basically, as we got older, almost everyone in the group goes, nope, ain't no evidence. There's no way to prove anything. Y'all can
It was
fantasize about whatever you want, but
it wasn't being fans of Jack the Ripper. It was a fan of trying to solve the unsolvable.
exactly. Exactly. And then we had oh god, I hate to dignify her by actually saying her name. A lady mystery writer that said, "Oh, I've solved it by looking at a photograph of a painter from the period and noticing that, oh, he's got the most evil eyes. He must have been Jack the Ripper." Projecting much? Of course, she goes on to publicize her work, naming her suspect by showing how much money she's made from her mystery novels by flying her own helicopter around and just being absolute. She actually came into the chat room one time and she was obnoxious to everybody because we did not worship the ground that she walked on. And we're just sitting there going, well, there's no real evidence. She goes, oh no, I've got evidence, and we go, no, you don't. Uh, art school students in France disproved your evidence um, about 3 months before your book was published. You were wrong. They proved you wrong. They have documentation to prove you're wrong. And she go, oh, well, bugger off. And she left in a huff, which is probably one of those little European cars that you have to pedal. But I don't know. She was not pleased with us for not taking her to be God's untruth to the world. Needless to say, I've read her book. It was compelling up to where she abandoned facts and went into this is my conjecture, which is where most of the writers who tackle unsolved mysteries go wrong, is going, oh yeah, here's the facts as they're known, here's my conjecture, but they don't say it's conjecture. They say, well, this is what this was from this suspect, and that proves that they're this one, and that. I'm going, you haven't proved anything. You've suggested something interesting, but you can't call it a concrete conclusion the way you want to. It's not solved. It's you have an interesting theory and suspect and evidence up to this point. You go beyond this point, and it's speculation and nothing more. You run out of evidence, and you take this leap of faith.
There's
And
a guy who, I guess he's famous. He's done a bunch of stuff. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, and honestly, I don't want to give him the press either. Apparently, there is a lady that would have been about my age who was murdered back when she was in high school.
mm-hmm.
They believe that it was the boyfriend at the time, and years later they allegedly proved it and such, and he came back at a later date, and he's trying to claim that no, it wasn't him, it's something else, or someone else, and the girl's family is extremely upset. And the thing is, the guy that he's pinning it on, nobody can really get the real answer for, because he died 10 years ago.
Yeah. That's convenient for the people doing the speculation. It's inconvenient for the people doing the investigation.
Well, I mean,
well, it's no different than Jack the Ripper. It was damn near 120, 130 years ago. There's no evidence whatsoever. You see things on YouTube going, oh, we found this DNA that absolutely proves this was... And I'm going, you found DNA off of what? Whose DNA did you find? Where did you find it? How do you know it was Jack the Ripper's DNA? Uh, Nobody was ever identified as the Jack the Ripper. And most of the people that have researched all of that have come to the conclusion that basically there was no the Jack the Ripper. There were about 5 different serial killers in London at the same time that the newspapers all claimed were the Jack the Ripper. Some of them had one modus operandi, and some of them had others that were wildly different. And people struggle to go, oh, well, they change over time and they adjust and this, that, and the other thing. And everybody's just going, excuse me, evidence says this one was right handed and this one that did this crime was left handed. Um, you can tell by which direction the knife cut to the throats of the ladies were for that particular victim versus other particular victims. Um, it's more likely that Jack the Ripper, as an entity, was created by the newspapers covering the crimes and not a singular individual that did all of the crimes. And if you dig deep enough, it's not like the canonical 5 victims. You can actually go, well, this one guy obviously killed these 5 girls, but the other 22, we think they're in the right time period, in the right location, and the right profession, and the right circumstances to be part of this. And I'm going, wait a minute, you're saying your Jack the Ripper had 30 something victims. But the only evidence to support any of them being connected is a highly disputed core of 5, and one of those may have been their spouse, and another one may have been their spouse. So you're left with 3. And this is your spree killer, your serial killer, your huge terror of London. But the newspapers all reported them as if they were one demonic killer. Which we do see the same sort of thing today. Only it's not serial killers so much right now, is terrorists. So yeah, this is definitely this from this Middle Eastern country, and this is definitely this from this Middle Eastern country, and they're all working together to overthrow, and everybody with half a brain is going, that don't add up. You're conflating motives of this thing to this thing to this thing, and you're confusing this religion and that religion, or this sect to that sect within the same religion. Glad I remembered that. Sect is one of those words that is it really throws me off because you can be in one religion but of one sect, and somebody else can be in the same religion in a different sect and believe in entirely different things. And have entirely different motives, especially when it comes to committing atrocities.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if it's a religion, what deity wants you committing atrocities in their name?
Golly.
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. Yeah.
Aries.
Aries just wants people to be at war all the time. It's not necessarily atrocities. He wants constant conflict and fighting, and as far as I can understand, honorable conduct within militaries in his service. Now, I could be wrong. I really could. It could be idealized. I have no idea. I've never met the gentleman. Never came around for tea and cake or death. But, let me get back up to Smokies, and the invitation will be extended again. I'm a long way from my seat of power. No, it's like even with what seems like evil in the eyes of ordinary people of the time, people kept designing honor into their deities. Whether it was actually there or not, that's what they wanted. Terry Pratchett's death is not someone who goes around just killing people, but no, he's actually the gatekeeper to whatever passes for the afterlife that they believe in while they're living. When their time is up, he goes, well, here you go. Just walk the path, don't stray, and you'll get to where you're trying to go eventually. Whether it's Valhalla or something more nihilistic. Depends on the person and what they believed in at the time of their death. It gets quite Buddhist sometimes, and I'm sure Thesis could explain this better than me. But basically, you get what you believe in, and sometimes you get what you deserve. I don't know how to explain it any better, but I'm trying to adapt what I understand of Eastern, Middle Eastern, way Eastern beliefs into Arabic and subcultures of Arabic. And yeah, there are things going on today that are no, we don't want to be identified as Arabic, but well, you're right next door, so this is the label I'm going to have to use. Whether it's one of the three varieties of how do you say the word? Abrahamic, Christianity, Judaism, or Muslim. They're all part of the same family, whether they throw plates at each other at Thanksgiving or not. I don't know. Should be able to coexist, but historically, they're rival siblings, basically. Yes, I know that doesn't make any damn sense, but it makes sense to me because I've got a much larger worldview. Well, actually, I've got a mini worldview where there are many worlds in my view.
But I mean, that does make perfect sense to me as well.
Well, I'm glad I was able to explain it so it made some sense. Or some sort of sense. But yeah, there are a lot
I mean,
of things.
go figure. Something. You explain. And I have a similar worldview of who would have thought of that.
Well, Richie, you spend half your time going, I didn't think of that. No, I would never have thought of that. Oh my God, I would never have thought of that. And you go, am I living in Dan's brain again? And I go, yeah, but aren't the girls pretty? Oh, Lord. There are people who don't even know who I am that live in my brain when they're thinking of things and they're going, I, I don't know why that thought came into my head. I'm going, I do. You're welcome. Well, at least the storm has settled down to a steady rain rather than lots and lots of thunder and lightning, which would scare the devil out of the dog and keep Lindsay from getting any sleep. I really should go and see whether or not she actually went to bed or whether she's in the lazy boy sound asleep. But either way, if I open the door, it's going to disturb her. And if she's asleep, I'd rather have her continue sleeping than be rudely interrupted. Once you reach that REM state, nobody should just go, "Oh, hey," uh, and wake
Surprise!
you up. Yeah, it's like the worst thing possible. It's like I'll be laying in bed, I'll be sleeping soundly, and the dog jumps on the bed going, "Hey, I want outside now." Even though she just came in, it's more like, "Hey, I love you. Pay me some attention. Leave me the fuck alone. Let me sleep. I'll pay you all the attention you want in the morning, in the afternoon, whatever time it happens to be when I wake up. Um, not right now." Uh, talk about topic drift. I've gone all over the place. Um, I won't ask what was the last cohesive thing that we talked about because it was probably lasers or some shit. That ADHD is not
Yeah.
just for children, and sometimes you make a living out of it. Uh, you can think of 75 different things to do and wind up doing none of them because you noticed the patterns in the back of a butterfly's wing and you got to look at those really closely because they're beautiful and you want to study how the colors blend together and how they differentiate. And it's like watching Nick Tucker draw. Uh, you see the pattern, you don't know what it's going to turn out to be, but you recognize a pattern there that can be one thing, it can be something else, or it can be a bunch of different things, and you watch it develop into this certainty that turns out to be one of his pieces of artwork. And he could take the same blank slate an hour later, or the next day, or 2 days later, and with the same prompts, do something totally different, or even without the prompts, have an idea of his own he wanted to accomplish. And it's basically a case of Bob's your uncle. Uh, Here it is. This is my view. Love it or hate it. And 99% of the time, people absolutely adore it. I mean, Nick is very, very talented. Um, I wish I weren't so pain ridden and infirm that I could, if I had my druthers and transportation was instantaneous, um, going to fence with Nick during a one of his practice sessions, or going out to Utah and comparing what I know of French and Italian foil fencing with thesis with the Chinese, and I know he probably knows some of the Japanese techniques and how they were actually developed from much older Chinese techniques, because basically, Land of the Rising Sun, uh, where in Asia does the sun rise over Japan? China. Geography, yes, I know a little. Pisses off Japanese folks to realize they're actually Chinese colonists. But, you know, they walked through Korea, so that was probably a pain in the ass enough to where they wanted to forget that they actually came from China. They go, oh, no. If we acknowledge we came from China, we have to acknowledge we came from Korea. No, that's not going to work. We're too royalist for that. Same thing happened in Europe, really. French didn't want to acknowledge that they came from Italian roots. The Italians didn't want to realize that they came from Roman as well as Germanic roots, because that took a while. And good Lord, was that not a historic set of battles there for that?
Real God sacked Rome.
Yeah, they don't wear black lipstick and go to nightclubs. They sack Rome. And the Greeks keep going. I don't know who none of y'all are, and all that while they're zipping up their pants because they're Greek. They went all over everywhere. And they don't want to acknowledge Crete. They don't want to acknowledge Turkey. They don't want to acknowledge Egypt. And I'm going, look, y'all were one of the first melting pots of civilization. You got this island, and that country that thought it was an island, but no, it wasn't. And you just kind of welded it all together.
So, a few weeks ago, not paying attention, just being my practical normal me. I'm watching a live stream for one of the court channels that I watch, and
It's a work training.
The guy in the video is talking about, well, that deputy had a beef with me, and just as a joke, I just made a quick quip about, well, no, he didn't have a beef with you. He had a turkey and rye. The host saw the comment, and he didn't say anything at the time. At the end, he's talking about, Yeah, if you got a beef with somebody, or somebody was saying in the chat earlier, Turkey, I'm like, oh shit, he saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, nice that he remembered it and called it back out, but I'm like, oh, whoops.
I don't know how many times I have made an innocent comment on somebody's YouTube video and come back later and found out in a later video they referenced it without doing a shout out of my name. And I'm going, if I'd known you were going to pay attention, I probably would have said something smarter.
If I knew you were paying attention, I would have just read a book in the back of the classroom.
There are times when I despair of my intelligence, and I go, it's just a random collection of loosely related facts that I have been able to assemble because in my limited capacity, I have noticed correlations and connections between this, that, and many other things. And I can't help drawing conclusions that are probably not the most, how's the word pronounced? Erudite. But they are both pointed and in some cases poignant, because they're not always happy ending sort of connections. They're one of those things where you recognize the truth in, but it stings because it's not a pleasant truth. Sort of like when you realize that Hansel and Gretel actually murdered somebody, or you're reading.
A lot of little kids in fairy tales are straight up stone cold killers.
Or Romeo and Juliet was actually a couple of teenagers that were suicidal for no damn reason, except their parents couldn't stand each other.
They're moody as teenagers.
Yeah. I'm going, get over it. You get married, there's nothing your parents can do about it. It's not like they're actually police or anything. They're wealthy, but they're not kings and queens. They can't make rules about love. Thank you, Adamant. You can't make rules about love. Thank you, Adamant. I just remembered that one. People's hearts, romances, people's loves, and people's lives are under their individual control. And it doesn't matter who says, no, this is not allowed. They're going to do it anyway.
A lot of the time, yeah. I mean, someone always has a plan about one thing or another.
Yeah, there's always a vested interest that gets in the way. But as the old saying goes, love will out. It will win for good or ill. Sometimes it's a tragic ending, which doesn't really need to happen except for purposes of romantic stories where uh, nobody lives happily ever after because that's the way that story is crafted. Or the orange cat rides the vacuum cleaner into the sunset and everybody lives happily ever after. Thank you, thesis. Uh, oh my goodness. Um I'm self referencing somebody else's work that I've published. Um, wait a minute. I'm the publisher. I'm allowed. I can do this shit. Nobody can say no to me. I own the printing press. Uh, good Lord. I had to go buy another case of, not a case, 18 pack of beer today because the boxes for the 18 pack are exactly the right size to put DVDs in. And I've got to pack up an entire case, or entire bookshelf of DVD and CD movies and VHS movies so that we can have the floor torn up and replaced. The hard part. I mean, the hard part's not going to be me collecting enough beer cartons to put all my DVDs in. No, that's easy. Uh, if my wife would quit folding them up and throwing them away in the recycling, I could have them done 3 weeks time, maybe. Um, I could stretch some and put some of them in the other fridge too, but and just empty out the box. But the hard part for me is going to be unwiring my damn near 50-year-old stereo and boxing up almost 500 vinyl albums and putting them out of the way of the living room so we can take the entertainment center off of its very carefully braced position on the wall. So the floor can be ripped up and then replaced. My wife has never liked the reinforcement I did on those shelves to keep them from falling over because we had grandchildren who were in diapers. I didn't know what shelves we were going to try and use for a freaking ladder. So I just braced everything. And the entertainment center that I built was the one of the heaviest pieces of furniture. I mean that would seriously break an adult, much less a child, if it fell on them. Even empty, it would not be a pleasant impact on anyone, but 500 records, a 1970s stereo system. Not one of these little bitty things you can get today, but big honking amplifiers and stuff. And the speaker cabinets. If that fell on you, it will leave a mark. And not something pleasant like the mark of Cain. It would leave a mark like, oh my God, I've been really stupid and I climbed up on this thing that wasn't secured. Boom! Why are there holes in the floor? Because the speaker cabinets weigh 500 pounds. That's why. They're studio monitors. For God's sake. They're JBL.
You just had the equivalent of a WWE match in your living room.
And somebody unwisely decided to provoke a leap off the top rope to impact somebody in the far end of the square ring. Boom! This is going to be a sound recorded on seismographs for miles and miles around. I mean, there's a gravimetric telescope at University of Georgia. It measures gravity waves. It's made out of toothpicks, basically. It's so lightweight. If it were a building, I could throw it into the next county by myself. But it basically it measures minute vibrations, and I'm just standing there going, how do they filter out people's footsteps around the building? I know they've got to shake the damn thing. They've got to have a computer subroutine that eliminates the cyclical nature of people walking around in the entire building. I'm sure it's a complex program, but they've got to have it. Otherwise, the entire telescope is a waste of time. Especially if you include the people that just stand there for half an hour looking at it and then go tap, 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 tap on the frame. I'm going, what do you think you're tapping out prime numbers? You're not. Your brain cannot fathom prime numbers. You're a freshman. Take an English class, for God's sake. And the reason I said English class is because usually math classes for subgeniuses or off limits for ordinary people because they figure anybody this stupid should have learned this shit in high school or grade school or elementary school for that matter. And yeah, we'll offer it. And I was actually in that remedial math class because of one of the recommendations of one of my teachers that did not understand that I thought differently from everybody else. And I could solve complex problems easily. Simple problems I had to have a period of cogitation in order to work out. But that remedial math class exists because there is a football team. And aside from the geometry of throwing a forward pass, they do not implicitly understand mathematics whatsoever. Now, yeah, when it comes to geometry, they can work out stuff that it basically passes for advanced ballistics. But if you're trying to find the square root of a triangle or number of square feet in an octagonal building or whatever else, they're gonna have to have the formula written down so that they can copy it down. And this was in the days before cell phones, so there was no way to do the math without actually doing the math.
Back in the days when formulas mattered.
Well, actually, formulas will always matter.
Well, okay, memorization of formulas.
Well, nowadays, if you forget a formula, you can always Google it. But back in the day, yeah, you had to memorize shit.
Unless you are somewhere that is a complete dead zone. The world. Ow! That was loud and in my ear. The world is an open book test because of these. Because almost everything out there you can look up. Hey, this guy is having a heart attack. How to perform heart surgery with a pocket knife and a match. All right.
I know how to perform a tracheotomy with a pocket knife and an ink pen.
So do I.
I've known that since the 60s, actually.
I've known that since Boy Scouts.
I'm not sure that they would appreciate the lack of cleanliness of my pocket knife, but they'd certainly enjoy being able to breathe unexpectedly again.
I wasn't supposed to know it in Boy Scouts, but I know it because of Boy Scouts.
Never been a Boy Scout. Not because I was against Boy Scouts or anything. It's because you had to be really posh to be a Boy Scout in the places I grew up. And my parents, while being relatively well-to-do, were not demonstratively well-to-do, so I was not presented an invitation to join the Boy Scouts, which makes it sound like it's elitist and everything, but it's not. It's not. I knew kids in school that were scouts. It's just we had too much work to do. I didn't have time to be a scout. I was I was too busy learning how to split logs into fence posts and string barbed wire and drive a tractor. Uh, I bet they don't have badges for any of those, but you would have come in handy.
You'd be surprised. Some of those they might actually have something for.
Well, farming, gardening, that sort of thing, I would expect, but
No, well, okay. Back in the time frame when you would have been a Boy Scout, they might not have had them. But in the late '80s, early '90s, that all sorts of weird stuff popped up, and by now, who knows what the hell is on that merit badge list? I mean, because they were always finding new merit badges to add. You know,
well, nowadays I could compete for the who can build a nuclear reactor quickest. Uh, do you do you want the traditional one, or do you want a pebble bed, or yeah? I know about 7 different designs, and I dated a girl that her dad designed nuclear power plants, so I know how the piping goes. And he was artistic enough to color code it, so you can walk inside and look at the color of one pipe and go, "Yep, that goes this way, and that goes that way." And that you really hope you never have to open the valve on, because that's a bad news pipe.
that's
Um,
the oh shit pipe.
yeah, exactly. that's a that's the one where you go, I'm dead anyway. I might as well open the valve, not kill anybody else. Might some deer are going to be highly pissed for about 30 minutes, but yeah, the oh shit pipe. it's it's like the extra handle inside cars and trucks, and my wife is going, "What's that for?" And I go, "Honey, that's the oh shit handle. You just hang on to that when stuff gets really bad, like Atlanta traffic bad." She goes, "Oh, yeah, got it." And she's not wrong. I mean, she's not wrong. I mean, Atlanta traffic is one of those situations where you go, Jesus, you let all the morons out of the asylum at the same time. And I just happened to not get the memo to go someplace else at this time of day. And Jesus goes, double thumbs up. Yeah, it's your turn in the queue. I'm going, thanks. This is why I stopped going to church, motherfucker. Not because I didn't believe anymore, but because I realized miracles were things that were either totally out of anybody's control or designed to teach people valuable lessons in life. And I've already been taught enough lessons in my life.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know it all, but I'm tired of learning right now, so leave me the fuck alone. No, I did not need to know that a lizard can snowboard across a slip and slide, but now I do, and I'm going, why did I waste those brain cells remembering that when I should be remembering how to plant azaleas and what their lifespan is? But hey, anybody have already asked me if a lizard can use a slip and slide. I got that one down. Actually, I don't because I've forgotten the details of it. But yeah, they can. But you got to be really sadistic to make them submit to it.
Lizards on a slip and slide? Yeah,
Mm.
I know a few flavors that would very happily um, do such.
There are a couple of species of iguana that might actually enjoy a slip and slide, but I think until they got used to it, they'd be shredding the plastic like nobody's business.
Until they realize that they're safe on it. You know, I think they would be trying to dig in and stuff like that. But yeah, I can see several flavors of lizard out there that already see things in nature and immediately apply the at least the concept of slip and slide to that.
I can see a couple of species of gecko. There would be no fun whatsoever because you put them on a slip and slide, you get ready to push them, they're already locked in like concrete. They're immovable. Like the Hulk decided he was gonna stay here. Um, so you just gotta slide frozen chickens past them or some shit. I don't know. Whatever you're doing with your slip and slide. Um, I don't know why frozen chickens came up. I'm going. Wouldn't you rather just put those on the grill and have them cook? And you're like, yeah, but the lizards might get worried because tastes like chicken. Um,
Hey, that looks like Granny Bernice.
do you ever wonder why my brain works this way? I do. Um, geckos on a slip and slide taste like chicken. How did those two get conflated? Um,
because we started talking about um, I don't know exactly how we started talking about geckos on slip and slides, but how it got conflated is oh hellfire.
well, I knew we were talking about chickens on slip sides earlier, but Jeff, leave me alone. I don't even own one of those robotic vacuum cleaners. Get out of my head. That's not going to work either, is it? You ever think you have a personal demon, and then after months of thinking about it and feeling guilty about it, you realize your personal demon is a fucking moron. I'm going, that doesn't make it any easier, does it? I'm going to be tempted to buy stupid shit from now on. Amazon.com, the demon's friend. Actually, going to the bird filter, the this is part of the doorway. This is part of the bird feeder and whatnot. It seems to be making it much more of a full-time rather than part-time hookup for the cables to the bird feeders and squirrel feeders and whatnot. Very weird, but it is English countryside. We don't have that many canal boats in the U.S. I mean, yeah, Erie Canal, everybody knows that one. But aside from that, and the fact is, you can't just go, oh, I've done 12 hours today. I'm going to pull over and sleep for the night. You got to go from city to city, from mooring point to mooring point. And there's the only place you can tie up. You can't stop in the wilderness and go, oh, I'd like to spend 2 weeks here. It's so peaceful, it's so lovely. And do it the way you can over in England. Canals in the U.S. are worlds apart, not only in intent, but I don't want to say guiding breath as much as I'd like to say traditionally lit so that horse-drawn horse manure fed natural gas actually reacts with coastal natural gas reactions so that back end of the boat ain't going nowhere. Front end of the boat ain't going nowhere. You can sit and take a daydream on the submission for the high-waisted fancy dress that your lady fair is planning to wear.
Yeah.
There are things that you just think about and you go, what the hell? And there are other things that go, that's incredibly obvious. The trick is to navigate the two between never thought of that and you really should have known that from just about the cradle. You notice I did leave people using outboard motors on the canal to drive the boats around. Perfectly acceptable solution. It's not the most elegant one, but it works and you get to go where you need to go. You get water refilled where water needs to be refilled. You get your compost toilets emptied or your what's the ones on the other boats? Pump out toilets pumped out. That's the kind of thing that's usually in an RV or something.
Chemical toilets.
All right. I'm actually being fade. And we're about 2.5 hours in. And Richie, as much as I would like to spend the rest of my life in close proximity to you, your sense of humor, your skills, and everything else, I'm going to have to say goodnight. And the time has been too short, my brother. The time has been entirely too short. If there's ever anything I can do to help you from this distance so far away, I will break my back to get it done. If there's anything you can do for me, I will say, are you willing to take a commission? And we will go from that basis. But tonight, we've done a full, what is it, 2.5 hours. Joe Dog will be wondering if I went to sleep. Carl will be going, oh my God, he stayed awake this long. Thank you very much. I love you very much, my brother. And we will continue inappropriately tomorrow night in the green room, hopefully.
In the room of the verdant shade.
In a green room with green curtains at the station.
Just be careful that you don't open the green door.
No. I know what's behind the green door. And I can't afford that. So I'm going to leave the green door closed.
Which is why I was saying just make sure it's not behind a green door.
Yep. But I will see you hopefully tomorrow. And if not, as soon as humanly possible. And God love you. And give your kids and your lovely wife hugs from me and Lindsay. I know she would nag me if I didn't say, she loves your wife. Well, there's all kinds of inappropriate comments coming up, but not got time for that. But
yeah, Misty and Lindsay definitely had a connection.
Thank you.
And I kind of figured that they would have. I'm really glad I was able to get Misty to come down to Hallowcon and to get to meet Lindsay and stuff. I mean, it just.
They actually have so much in common that I never figured that would ever happen. So, all right.
Well, yeah. Enough with the Southern goodbye.
Good night, little brother. I gotta go.
Love you, brother. Have a good one. Be safe.
See you later. Where did I put that? Oh, it's right here. Okay.
Transmission overload.
System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down.